This camera looks like it comes from an alternative timeline where Blackmagic have had time to iron out some of the biggest design problems that have affected the original Pocket Cinema cameras, a sort of Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K 2.0. If you've owned or have ever used a Pocket Cinema camera, then you'll be aware of just how, let's say, underwhelming the battery life can be with these things. You're lucky if you get 40 minutes of continuous use before you need to swap the damn things out. And if you start playing the footage back, you'll get even less time. Another annoyance with these cameras is that although you have a lovely 5-inch touchscreen display, it's not exactly in the most convenient of places, being flat on the back of the camera. Of course, there are solutions to both these problems. You can rig the camera up in any number of different ways. But what if there was a way to fix both these things permanently? And what if you could kill two birds with one stone? That's what this camera is designed to do. This is the tilt screen V-mount power mod for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and 6K by PodTech. It's designed by a guy called Ollie Larkin, who is a New Zealand-based videographer and filmmaker, and from the looks of things, somewhat of a tech boffin as well. Ollie has been working on these designs to upgrade the camera since mid-2023. I've got to say, I am incredibly impressed with the amount of work he's been able to do in just half a year. If it was me, it would still be on the drawing board. Check out a couple of these early prototypes he's made. They're kind of wild. So you've got eyes, it's pretty easy to see what this modification is all about. The two main features being the inclusion of a V-mount battery plate on the back of the camera, where the touchscreen used to be, and the relocation of said touchscreen to the top of the camera in this housing. The screen keeps all of its touchscreen usability, and the camera works exactly the same way it always has. The changes to this camera are fully physical. There's no changes to the recording part of the camera in any way. Picking this thing up for the first time, you really do notice just how well made these modifications have been constructed, if that's a proper sentence. They actually feel far superior to the Blackmagic camera body, being made out of machined aluminium. They're strong and really robust compared to the plasticky material used by Blackmagic, and are attached to the metal frame inside the actual camera. The screen can lie down flat on top of the camera at a 90-degree angle. In fact, it's probably slightly more than 90 degrees. The resistance on the hinge is exactly what you'd want it to be. It's firm enough that the screen stays in place, and yet smooth enough that it takes, well, zero effort to move it into the new location. Apparently the hinge was a completely custom design by Ollie, and I think the extra work he's put into that has really paid off. The back of the screen has two cold shoe mounts that can be used to mount lighter accessories. One of the images Ollie sent over shows them being used to hold an external SSD, which I think is kind of a natural place to put it. A nice flat SSD in there will be hidden away pretty nice when using the camera like this. The V-mount battery snaps into place in much the same way as it would on any other V-mount plate, and it's held in place incredibly firmly. You're probably going to want to use one of these mini V-mount batteries so that the right-hand side where the buttons are doesn't become obscured. When I run my camera off one of these mini V-mount batteries, I get around 3 hours of continuous use, or thereabouts. That's a massive improvement on the internal battery. One of the best things about this modification is that you can still use the internal battery, and it's getting charged from the V-mount battery, so you can hot swap either of the two batteries at any time, and the camera won't shut off on you. If you want to keep track of how much power you have, then it's suggested that you change the camera battery settings to voltage. When the battery is full, it should display 16.8 volts, and when it's depleted, it should be around 13 volts. I'd probably just recommend you use one of these batteries that has an LED light indicator on the back of it or the side of it. In fact, make sure you get one that has it on the left-hand side so that when the battery is mounted to the back of the camera, that's actually on the top and not on the bottom. So this is a modification to your Blackmagic camera. You don't actually get a camera that is constructed like this. You get a kit, and it's up to you to modify the camera yourself. Everything you'll need for the mod will be included, including almost all of the tools that you're going to need to do it. The only exception will be a heat gun or a hairdryer that you'll need to heat up some of the adhesive that holds the screen in place. How confident you're going to be in doing this is going to be down to your skill level with this type of work. The documents that Ollie has provided say that it's quite a simple modification to carry out, but I don't know that for myself because I was provided the prototype camera to review where it's already been done for me. I've got to say I'd probably be kind of reluctant to do this sort of thing myself, as I'd be worried about destroying my camera, but your skill levels with a screwdriver might be a whole lot better than mine. The mod is available on Kickstarter now, and if you're interested, I think you can back it for around $300. I'll leave a link obviously down in the description. And just so you know, I'm not connected with this Kickstarter in any way. I'm not being paid, and I have to unfortunately send the camera back. Because this is a prototype, I should point out some differences or improvements between this and the final version that you can back on Kickstarter. The cold shoes on the back of the screen are 3D printed at the moment, but will be CNC machined from aluminium in the updated future version that you can back. The battery release button will be upgraded because the prototype can get a little bit tight and difficult to press, although I've not actually experienced this myself, but it's something that Ollie has mentioned. The ribbon cable will be aligned a little better with the screen. At the moment it's ever so slightly off to one side and creates a tiny little twist in the cable. And the number of bolts holding the V-mount plate on the back of the camera in place will be reduced because, well, they're not all needed, so it will look a little bit slicker. So what are the downsides with this thing? Well, not many, and most of them are going to be subjective as to whether you see them as true downsides or not. But here's a few that I'm going to pick out. The tilt screen obstructs the on-off switch. I find it a bit hard to get my finger in between the camera and the screen to flick the switch. I feel I have to move the screen every time when I need access to it. The exposed ribbon makes me nervous. It looks very vulnerable. I can imagine it getting snagged. Having said that, the flip screen on the 6K Pro has an exposed ribbon too, and so far I haven't snagged that. The V-mount uses the internal pathway of the DC power connection, so you can no longer plug the camera into the wall and use the mains power. That connection is now totally dead. I can't attach the V-mount without turning the camera on the side and sliding it from top to bottom. Well, that's probably down to muscle memory, and with practice I'll get better, but for now doing it all feels a little bit clumsy handheld. You can't attach a top handle anymore, which isn't just useful for carrying, but can really help you with getting low-level handheld shots. There's no easy place to attach a microphone. Maybe there's a way using the cold shoes on the back of the screen, but I haven't figured out one yet. I'm really in two minds about this product. It's not the execution of the idea, that's pretty much flawless. And if what Ollie says is true, it will only get better with the full production run. But it's the idea itself that leaves me in these two different camps. I think your own personal style of shooting is going to play a big role in whether this modification is for you or not. I spend a lot of time filming with my camera on a tripod, and I'm not always directly behind the camera. Quite often I'm off to one side using an external monitor that can fully rotate. The camera might be squashed up next to a wall or in some other strange location. And when I'm filming these YouTube videos, having a monitor that can swivel all the way around and used to actually see what you're doing is invaluable. One of the reasons I recommend the Portkeys LH5P is for the fact that you can control the camera over Wi-Fi with it. In fact, if you throw in a V-mount plate, then you have pretty much the same functionality as the PortTech offers, although it's nowhere near as elegant looking. But if your style of shooting is mostly handheld, and I know for a number of people it is, then this upgrade is going to be fantastic for you, because it feels so natural in the hand. I'm not sure if this is intentional, but the V-mount battery is changing the center of gravity, stopping the weight of the lens from dragging the camera forward. Having this low-profile screen will also help with stopping the camera from swaying around, which you'll understand if you've ever rigged up a monitor on the top of your camera. It can end up with such a high center of gravity that it acts like a ship sail, tilting you about all over the place. Finally, being heavier is also going to help with the micro jitters you can get with a lighter camera. So it's a win-win-win situation. I have to say, using the camera this way has made me want to shoot more handheld stuff. It's so much better than shooting handheld with a rig. It's so much more ergonomic. You naturally want to pull the camera close into your chest to give yourself another point of contact and stabilize your shots. It feels instinctive. So the big question is, will I be modifying my camera in this way? No, because I need the flexibility of being able to rig my camera up in a number of different ways. This upgrade is too restrictive for my style of shooting. But man, if I had a second Pocket 4K, I'd definitely be looking to upgrade it in this way because it feels so good. How much is a used 4K? Anyway, I have the camera for a few weeks now, so if anyone wants any questions answering, let me know. I'll do my best to get back to you. If there's enough interest, I'll make a part 2 addressing the most common ones. And hey, thanks for watching. I used Joel Famillaro's Phantom LUTs to colour grade all the B-roll in this video. If you like the way it looks, then you can check out the link in the description and use the code CHRIS15 to get a 15% discount at checkout.